There, friend. Welcome back to the channel. And if you're new around here, well, my name is Makita, but peeps call me Mac, and I'm a leadership coach, and I work specifically with first-time team managers and helping them to become super effective leaders. So today, what I want to talk about is managing your stress levels. I feel as though I have to talk about this on the channel because I know that so many of you just deeply care. You deeply care about your team. You deeply care about doing a fantastic job and really living up to this responsibility of manager that you've been given. And I know that in caring this much and doing all that you can, that you're probably feeling a lot of stress, right? This role brings on with it some stressful situations, and it can be hard to navigate. And so what I want to talk about today is just a couple of things that have really helped me, and I want to pass on these tools that I've acquired over the years in hopes that it will help you navigate the treachery, stressful waters of people leadership and resource management. Okay. So the first tip that I have around is managing the stress that comes with a people leadership role is learning to be present. I know that that sounds kind of like an obvious one, but again, it's sometimes the obvious things that need to be stated. But I wanted to call it out anyways, because I know that this is easier said than done, particularly for the type A personality styles out there who like to have structure, that like to have order, that like to have some sort of control, right? I know that because that's me, right? Nothing brings on a stress fest in my world more than like a last minute process change that I had no idea about, or someone not meeting a deliverable on time. Like that will definitely stress me out. And I know after talking to enough of you and having the privilege of working with enough of you, I know that y'all can relate to this. And so that's why I wanted to call it out. But I also want to share what has helped me in this journey. What has definitely helped me is bringing myself to awareness when this happens. When the stress fest is happening, it's bringing myself to awareness. And what I like to do is pattern disrupt what's going on in my head. Because again, at this point, like I can feel the sensation in my body. Like I already know if something feels like it's out of control, I can already feel this like pit in my stomach, right? I feel this like sensation of a pit in my stomach. And then from instantly from there, I can feel like it going to my, like the adrenaline to my head. And instantly there's all these thoughts and emotions firing right after. And so because of the fact that I know that from the moment that I feel that like sensation in my body where like I'm about to lose it, I will like out loud say to myself, okay, Mac, this sucks, but what is it that you can do in this situation to make it better? Or what do you need to focus on? What is your next best move in this situation? And I will literally say it out loud. I have no shame. I am trying to work with myself here. And so I will say it out loud, whether I'm in a group of people or not. What is my next best move in this situation? And what that allows me to do is focus in on being present in the moment rather than, letting my thoughts fire 1,001 what if scenarios, because that happens to me quite often, right? As soon as I feel like something is out of control, I go automatically into this. What if this happens? What if this happens? And let's be real, like none of that is actually even realistic. So why am I wasting my time on what ifs? Why don't I focus on what counts and be present on what I can actually do, what my next best move is? Now, I know that you're probably hearing this and maybe you're thinking, okay, I'll try it. And maybe you might have some pushback around saying it out loud, but saying it out loud is actually a really important component to this mini strategy. And that's because when you say it out loud, it allows your brain to like actually hear it, and your brain can kick into gear and say, that's the thing that she wants me to focus on, right? I think it's called like selective attention or something, where when you say something, your brain knows exactly what it needs to like channel in all its energy on. So it's really important to pattern disrupt yourself, but don't just do it in your head. Say it out loud. Say like, what can I do in this situation? What do I have control over? What is my next best move in this situation? And that way you'll have a better like system for just getting through it and not having the thoughts fire and make you even more stressed. So tip number 2 is to create mental white space for yourself. One of the things that I know to be true is that inner chaos causes outer chaos, which causes you to feel stressed and overwhelmed. A couple of years ago when I first started my coaching business, I worked with this wonderful client who was, going through a really stressful time at work. And I remember like working with her for a couple sessions, and she was talking to me, or she was kind of explaining kind of high level how she was feeling, but we weren't able to get to like what was causing her to feel that way. And you know me, like I like to get to root causes. I don't like to stay at surface level symptom stuff because I can't help you if I don't know what's at the root that's causing this issue to pop up. And so we were having some difficulties, right? Because she wasn't able to clearly articulate to me what she was feeling. And so I remember feeling like, man, I want to help, but I'm struggling here in terms of like how to help her. And so I remember like I was rereading one of my favorite books, EntreLeadership. And in the book, the author mentioned that it's really important for us to write out our thoughts because it forces it to another level, which of course creates clarity for us. And I was like, as soon as I read it, I was like, that's it. I know exactly what to do. And so on our next session, I remember I went back to her and I said, listen, here's what we're going to do. Okay. Because we're not getting to root causes. We're only staying at surface level, and that's just not good enough for me. So let's go deep. What I want you to do is get a journal, and I want you to just riff. I know right now you can't verbalize what's going on, but maybe if you just riff, it'll give us some clarity in terms of what's going on. And I got to tell you, our next session, which was 1 week later, was fire, y'all. It was fire because we really uncovered some stuff. I mean, when I say we uncovered some stuff from her riffing. I mean, we realized that it was a lot of like self-doubt and insecurity that was leading her to feel like she wasn't able or capable to do the tasks that she was being assigned to do, which led to her feeling stressed and overwhelmed. And so I'm saying all this to say that like, journaling works. Journaling works. You don't even realize all the things that are going on inside of you until you start to just riff. So I want to encourage you, like if you're feeling stressed, I mean, I honestly think this should be a discipline that you have in general. I have this discipline where I journal all the time. And so I think adopting that discipline is really, really important, at least to like reduce stress, because stress is just, let's be real, part of like everyday life. And so if we have some place where we can write out like how we're feeling or whatnot, it just reduces it. So tip number 3, when it comes to managing some of the stress and maybe overwhelm that you're feeling right now, is to ask for help. And I'm going to pause here for a second because I already know that is really hard for so many of you. If you're anything like me, maybe you even have a bad relationship with that word help, which is only amplified when you're a new leader. For me, when I first started out as a manager, I remember having every negative thought that you can think of in conjunction with that word. So what I mean by that is like, I would think to myself, oh man, if I ask for help, then they're most likely going to think that I don't know what I'm doing. Or if I ask for help, then they'll probably think, oh, gee, why did they promote her if she doesn't even know what she's doing? Like I would make up all sorts of stories in my head about asking for help, which held me back, from asking for help. Something that I have really come to learn and understand and really is just part of who I am now, is that if you try and do everything on your own, you will render yourself useless to do anything at all. And I'm going to say that again. If you try and do everything, you will eventually render yourself useless to do anything at all. And you're not going to be like helpful to anybody, by trying to do it all by yourself. So I want you to start like rewiring some of the thoughts that you have around help, because the truth is that word isn't a negative one. Help is actually very empowering, because when you receive help, you're able to go further and faster. You're able to go further and faster. And then the other thing that I think you need to hear, and I wish somebody had said this to me when I was like in a rut with not wanting to ask for help. I want you to know that you are worthy of receiving help. You're worthy of receiving help. Just like you wouldn't think negatively of a friend that reached out to you for help, why do you think negatively of yourself because you're asking for help? You know what I mean? Like, it's not a negative thing. It's something that we all need in life. So I really want you to start rewiring, like I said, your thought patterns with help, and recognize that it's not a negative thing. It's a positive thing to ask ask for what you need. Ask for the help that you need. It's okay to do that. Other thing too that I want to make a little bit of a fine point here on is the fact that like people aren't mind readers. Sometimes I hear people say things, and I've said this too, so I'm like bringing myself into the fold on this one. But like sometimes I remember saying like, well, surely like if somebody wanted to help me, they would have already, you know? But the truth is, and what I had to realize is that people aren't mind readers. And people are also fighting their own battles. People are fighting their own battles. And so if I don't take the time to articulate what I need, then I might never receive it because the other person's in their zone doing their thing, right? Trying to fight their own battles. And so I think that is another important component that you want to just remember and be cognizant of, because I don't want you to get into this rut of just thinking, well, they can clearly see I'm struggling. Why don't they reach out to help me? Again, they might think that that struggle that you are exhibiting is exactly who you are or what you want, right? So just learn to like make it a practice to ask for what you need, because honestly, help is just not a bad word. It is exactly what we need to progress and to move forward and to honestly relieve some of the stress that we are often feeling alone. And this is a perfect segue into my next tip around asking for what you need. I know that a lot of us that have this like bad relationship with help, I know that oftentimes we are carrying a heavy load. And we don't necessarily ask for the resource or the tools or whatever it is that we need in order to be able to carry that load. We kind of just continue to carry it, and it's heavy, and we get really stressed and drained trying to carry it. And so I want to encourage you to no longer do that. Ask for what you need, whether that be the resources, the support system, or for things to come off your plate so that you can operate at your very best. I know oftentimes when I talk to some of the managers and they're like, yeah, I'm like doing a lot, but I don't necessarily know how to approach my boss about it. I always tell them, just get prepared. Get prepared for the conversation, because I guarantee you, if you go in prepared, they will be very receptive to what you're saying. So when I say that, I mean, what you can do just practically speaking is open up for yourself a document, right? Open up for yourself a document and have 2 columns. So on one column, I want you to jot down all the core objectives of your job description. So grab your job description and like outline all the things that you are responsible for, all the things that you're being paid to solve. And then in the other column, I want you to jot down all the things that you're doing. Okay. So on one column, it's the core objectives of your role. And then on the other column, it's all the like mini tasks or whatever it is that you're doing. And then I want you to compare the two. And I want you to ask yourself, are all the things on this column, so all the things that you're doing, do they align with the objectives of my job description? Okay, that's all I want you to ask yourself. And then circle the things that actually align. Everything else is probably not even necessary for you to do A, is probably something that you can delegate B, or is something that you can possibly automate C. And if none of those things apply to the other things that are not circled, then I want you to go into a meeting with your boss to discuss it. And don't feel any ways about that, because I guarantee you, if you go in prepared like that with a document that highlights your job description and highlights the things that you're doing, and then highlights how the things that you're doing align with your job description and how there's a couple of extra things that don't align, I guarantee you they're going to be incredibly impressed and give you the ear that you need so that you can make your case in terms of why you feel so heavy and overloaded, and whether or not more resources need to be given to you, whether or not you need a new hire, whatever the case might be. Last thing I'll say on this, because I know that there is, for some reason, this undertone or this subtext that exists amongst many of you where you're feeling kind of like uneasy or anxious to go to your boss with these things. But I want to remind you that just like you are here to support your team members, they are there to support you. And so you need to voice these things so that they can be true leaders in the sense and help you, just like you are there to help your team members. So don't feel any ways about doing this. It's the right thing to do, particularly if we want to reduce the stress, because if we're being true 100% honest here, if you continue to try and like carry that heavy load, something is going to drop. Something is going to drop. Something always gives. And so before that happens, I would much rather you do that practical exercise and go to your boss and figure out a productive way forward. All right, my friends, so that is pretty much it for today's video. And if you found it enjoyable, then please do give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on any other content that I share on this platform. Thank you so much for being here with me this week. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. Do not forget to keep smiling, and I'll see you in the next one.